Wilson.
Hey, Molly, how are you? You're
I
freezing.
am very cold in the Northeast here. Things are not, mistakes were made, and we all now wear long underwear. Speaking of mistakes being made, Tulsi Gabbard. First of all, some of the worst people in Trump's administration, I take no pleasure to say this, are Democrats. Talk us through this whistleblower leak.
Sure. So last year, sometime prior to June 6th, we know that part, the National Security Agency picked up a person, quote unquote, close to Trump, discussing intelligence matters concerning Iran with someone in a hostile foreign intelligence service. That's what we know so far. Gabbard, instead of reporting this appropriately throughout the intelligence community to develop countermeasures for it, etc., took it directly to Susie Wiles. This is way outside the normal procedure that one would do on this, and gave it to Susie Wiles for unknown purposes. After that, someone in the intelligence community said, well, whatever happened to that? And they were told basically, shut the fuck up and to pay no attention. And so they reported it through the Inspector General system in the intelligence community, in the DNI. Apparently, Tulsi Gabbard decided not to follow the rules and the law, where that has to be made not known within 30 days to the Gang of Eight in Congress, the 8 senior bipartisan intelligence and defense oversight members. Because of that, we had to wait a year almost until we found out about this. And Gabbard has now been out lying about the sequence of events, lying about the timeline, lying about what the Inspector General said. And she is in some deep shit. This is one of those things that's like the intelligence community people that are still around, they give a damn about their job. They give a damn about the country and the security. And she has put us in danger.
There are sort of all these different national security protocols and ways that it's supposed to be done. Tulsi flouted those, but also the security, the information that's been leaked or that she leaked is like the highest level. Can you explain that?
Yeah, this is something that is so compartmentalized. So folks have all heard about secret and top secret, and a lot of people now have heard about what they call SCI, compartmentalized information. And a compartmentalized program could have 1,000 people in it, or it could have 4 people in it. This is at a level apparently that is so above and beyond because of both the nature of the target, whoever this foreign intelligence person was, and the collection system from the NSA that got the information. So this is something incredibly sensitive, crown jewels level stuff, to the point where it could not have been transmitted outside of a group of probably like a dozen people in the entire government. This is a very blazing red flag about Gabbard's inability and lack of temperament to do this job.
Is it worse or better than adding the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic to a signal chat about bombing Iran?
This is wildly worse.
Wow. So how bad can it be? That seems
because that foreign intelligence person almost certainly will now become aware that we are targeting them in a certain way, using a certain method. They will communicate differently. The other part of this is what it implicates in the Trump administration. We have seen in what we know of the complaint so far is that the person they were talking to was, quote, close to Trump. This does not mean it is a government official. Given Donald Trump's propensity for using outside actors, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, etc., who are not government officials, to conduct diplomacy and intelligence and foreign policy, I'm deeply concerned that somebody inside the Trump government told, let's say it was Jared. I have no evidence that it was Jared.
Right, but
at all.
Someone.
But let's say it's someone like a Jared who gets on the phone and calls another person and says, hey, by the way,
investors.
Did you hear about this? Correct. Did you hear about this thing that we're doing? I don't think this...
That's the scenario you're describing.
I don't think I don't think it's Jared per se, but I think it is a person in that category most likely, because if it had been a government official, they would have said a Trump administration official in the complaint.
Right. and they would have been fired.
Hypothetically, in a
Well,
in a
at least
rational
in a
world.
normal
Right, in a
administration.
world where you and I were in charge, they'd be fired.
Right. I wanna move on for a minute
Sure.
to something that is not on our schedule, but I think is important, is, like, this week, there was huge reporting out of the Wall Street Journal about the crypto scam
Oh, amazing.
and how the Trump kids, the boys, Eve and Barron,
Uh-huh.
are involved in this making hand over fist money in crypto and then cashing out before the investors.
Yes. You know why?
Why?
They may not be a smart family, but they recognize when they're in a con and they're gonna rug pull people, they need to get out before the rug gets pulled.
But half the rug was sold to the United Arab Emirates. Discuss.
One of those many, many things where if you added up all the BS that the House Oversight Committee claimed that Hunter Biden was involved in, they said,
Right.
"Oh, Hunter Biden and the Biden family brought in $27 million."
The Biden crime
The Biden
family.
crime family, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. $27 million. So far, as the Times outlined, we're talking about 500 million, 550, I think it was, from the
Yeah.
UAE, from the shadowy prince, as they called him, who runs the UAE's intelligence services, because that couldn't possibly be a conflict at all. Who also does a lot of business with China.
Yeah. No, no. I mean, the kleptocrat stuff, the kleptocracy is
Yep.
just astounding. And it's so astounding that Andrew McCarthy, talk us through that because that is
So
when you've lost
when you lost
Fox.
Andrew McCarthy, now look, let me describe who
Ex-
Andy McCarthy is
yeah,
for
explain
our
who he
listeners.
is. Yeah.
I know you know. Andrew
Yeah,
McCarthy
please.
is a Republican attorney, a former DOJ guy, conservative, no fan of either Barack Obama or Joe Biden in
No,
any conceivable
no.
circumstance. But I will give Andy credit on something. He's been a very straight shooter on the Trump corruption issue.
Yeah.
And he has said quite openly, and to the very ugly reaction of their readers, to the readers of National Review, this corruption stinks on ice. It is unbelievably enormous and consequential and dangerous for this country. And Donald Trump is running basically a racket.
Mhm.
And he wrote a very strong piece about it. Where he continued to condemn the Bidens, fine, whatever, but he laid out this unbelievably powerful case against Trump, and the right wing reaction has been very like, "How dare you, sir, point out the criminality of our criminal."
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the problem that you see. These people are incentivized to go along with everything
Everything.
because the base is so radicalized and the base is so convinced that any kind of criticism of Trump is. But I want you
Is
to,
get they think it gives the libs a win.
right, exactly. As opposed and the road to just a complete dictatorship is paved with
Don't
this
let the
sort
libs
of
win.
right. And just this insane propaganda that Trump world needs. And by the way, I mean that's why I want to get to this Renee Good stuff because
Yeah.
there's more. It's like every day is just a nightmare of news. Renee Good, she was murdered by
Jonathan
an
Ross.
ICE Jonathan Ross, an ICE agent. Now there was that one video where it almost looked like they had one video, which was from like 10 miles away that
Right.
made it look like maybe she was trying to hit him. But every other piece of forensic evidence shows that
Turned
in
out it
fact,
wasn't the case.
yeah, she was turning the car, she was driving away, she was, I'm not mad, bro. And he shot her.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about Kash Patel, head of
So
the FBI, keeping us safe.
we now know that when the FBI agents assigned to the Minneapolis field office began to do what they were required by law to do, which is to open an
Their job.
investigation, their jobs, to open an investigation of the killing of an American citizen by federal law enforcement officers. They were told to stand down. They were examining Renee Good's vehicle when they were told by senior FBI agents, now from reporting, including Kash Patel himself, to stop. Why would he order that? Why would he order that,
Why?
Molly? He would order that because they understand what they did. They understood right away what happened. They understand that if you allow the process of the law to play out, Jonathan Ross and the other FBI or the other ICE agents that were in the street that day are going to prison.
Yeah,
And Trump cannot afford to let Jonathan Ross or the guys who shot Alex Preddy go to prison. His base has been conditioned, like you just talked about, the insane propaganda has told 70 million Americans who love Donald Trump that Alex Preddy was a murderer, a domestic terrorist coming there to slaughter ICE agents,
that's
and that
right.
Renee Good was a radical left-wing paid activist lesbian danger to the lives of these poor innocent ICE agents just trying to do their job. That propaganda machine cannot have those people go down. And so that's why Kash Patel directly intervened, suborning a legitimate civil rights and law enforcement investigation into the murder of Renee Good to protect Donald Trump and to protect, worse than just protect Donald Trump, to protect the MAGA narrative. If you're saddened and disgusted by it, folks, that's the reaction of a normal human being.
I also think that much of the people in Trump's second administration are here to cover for him, to
Yeah.
cover for his bad policy and his
Enablers.
right. So it's either, they're covering for bad policy and they're covering for poorly trained ICE agents, or they're covering for kleptocracy, or
Yeah.
I mean, like, the central theme of this conversation right now is watching members of the Trump administration. And again, Tulsi Gabbard is a good example. Like, Tulsi knew that somebody in that talk
Right.
was someone that what she was put in place to keep from getting in trouble.
Right. If
Now,
it's a
whether
Witkoff, if it's a Kushner, if it's a
whoever, right?
whoever, she
She
she put politics above national security,
right. And Kash Patel put
politics above
politics,
law and order.
law and order. And at every point here, what we're seeing is an administration that exists largely to protect Trump and protect Trumpism. And by the way, it's a stark contrast to the Democrats who are, I mean, what's going on, Rick?
I mean, look, I'm going to give them props on one thing this week
I
because
want
I am
props. Thank
mostly
you.
my love is just tough, not just love. But the Democrats correctly this year held the line on all this redistricting crap, and
Yes.
Texas has blown up on them, and the whining of bitches like Ted Cruz saying, "How dare you do this partisan redistricting?" and
Right.
Peter
Which was our
Meyer,
idea.
yeah, you started it, we
Yeah.
finished it. Sorry, pal.
Yeah.
Um,
Virginia.
but look, they need to hold the line on this Epstein stuff and on ICE. They need to keep the pressure up, not let it go down.
Yeah.
And I know the natural instinct of people like Chuck Schumer is like, let's breathe, let's all sit and reason together.
Right. That's
No,
like bygones be bygones.
no, my honorable friend across the aisle. No, you
No.
have no honorable friends across the aisle anymore, buddy.
Yeah.
They don't
Uh,
exist.
yeah, and I think, like, there will be a moment when things start to shift back to what American democracy once was in the
Knock on
pre-Trump.
wood. Yeah,
And there is going to need to be real introspection of how we got here. And it
yeah,
means that even though Trump was the kleptocrat that really moved us to
yeah.
the next level of democratic rot, there are ways in which we failed to regulate that got us here.
Hundreds of different examples in our current moment, Molly, where and it's not always and it's not universal where normalcy bias made Democrats think, okay, well, the Republican, my Republican buddies are faking this. It's okay, we'll work it out.
Right.
Or hundreds of examples of normalcy bias with Republicans who thought, we can. He wants to do this silly shit on Twitter. We'll run the government. None of those things
Mhm.
held up, and they didn't hold up because as a country that once believed institutions had power to keep things glued together, those institutions kept handing Trump individually more and more and more and more power. Whether it was the
Mhm.
Supreme Court, whether it was Congress, whether it was the media, all of these institutions that should have been fighting instead said, "You know what? It's too much noise. It's too loud. There's too much risk. There's too much pain. I don't want to be the one who goes out and loses my job over telling, the truth about this guy." And over again, I think that really has something. I think you're right. We're going to have a painful reconciliation when this is over.
Nuremberg.
And it's going to have to the people unless some people go to jail
Yeah.
over
It
this.
will keep happening or
It
it
will
will be
keep happening.
worse.
The incentive structure of bad action right now has not yet met a single person being punished for the bad actions.
That's right. I think we have to realize that it has to change.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about this I think is actually kind of a good thing. So Donald Trump did a racist, disgusting thing, which is, in case you're wondering, his brand.
Right,
Uh,
this should not surprise anyone, but go on.
yeah, racist, disgusting thing, posting a photo of the Obamas as apes, a video that had the Obamas as apes. I think this is meaningful, and you and I both agree he was condemned. Republicans,
Even by a lot of Republicans.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
these
they
guys
didn't and
do
a lot of them didn't couch it in the usual, like, "This can't possibly be my beloved Donald Trump, racial healer."
right, right.
Most of them were like, "This is disgusting, take it the fuck down."
So, we had, Susan Collins, we had Tim Scott. So what do you think? I mean, I don't think look, they know he's a racist. He does a lot of disgusting shit all the time.
Yeah.
I think they see the poll numbers.
I think you are absolutely correct. They see the poll numbers and inside those poll numbers, and I know this is a weird like flashback to that redistricting conversation we were just having. When the Texas folks built that redistricting model, they thought all Hispanic voters will behave like they did in 2024 and they'll stick with
Mhm.
Trump. Well,
I don't know
he
why they thought that.
they're just not that bright.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a true answer.
Right.
They've been in a super majority for so long they're arrogant. But inside those polling numbers they're seeing right now, not only have the numbers with African Americans, including young men, which is where they did make some progress in 24, but all African Americans, including the people they won in 24, they've gone way back in the other direction. It's
Yeah.
worse than it's ever been for Republicans. Hispanics are have moved way back in most states. In a couple states, it's still lagging a little bit, but in most states, Hispanic numbers have gone all the way back to where they were or a little worse.
Ask
Um,
the Democratic mayor of Miami.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the consequences of ICE, DHS, the ending of the TPS program throughout the Cuban and Venezuelan communities, all these things are rippling out right now, so that damage hasn't stopped. It's only just started. And when you go out and you use one of the most grotesque tropes about Black Americans,
Mhm.
if you want to go back to the Jim Crow era, or you want to go back to the Reconstruction era, what was the image of Black people that was portrayed in newsprint back then? It was the savage ape. It
Yeah.
was the mindless, monkey raping women. It's
Yeah.
such a shitty, horrible, ancient trope. And by the way, Trump's old enough to kind of remember some of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That had not vanished from the white discourse about race, even in Queens in the 1950s when he was
With
growing up. So,
Rick Wilson.
Mama Jong-Fast.